got involved in a real conversation of child of God, and what does it mean, and can we relate to those words? And it has triggered me to think about the labels that we have put on ourselves. So we'll develop this whole idea. But I do want to stay with the idea of child of God and how meaningful words can be in our subconscious level. If I use the word child, what does it mean to you? What is the idea? Somebody tell me. In other words, you're a child. How does that feel, that name? And how does it position you in our society?
Innocence.
Innocent, okay.
I was going to say that.
Ignorant, yeah. Unschooled, if I can use that terminology.
Better. Full of potential.
Full of potential. Do you see all the different definitions of the word? And it could be Don's definition, could be Rick's definition, could be or Kat's definition. However, for some people, child is less than adult. Yes? And anybody here, and this is another conversation, which, those of you who've been around for a while know we tell the truth, or at least we work on it. And part of the truth is the word God in some people's experiences is not that comfortable. Because a lot of us have been trained in our earlier upbringing that God is going to get you if you don't do it right. So God is the taskmaster, God is the leveler, with the great scale, you do this and this happens and all that kind of stuff. So the word child of God might be a down for some people. And so I like the phrase, because to me it's an important phrase. And I use it a lot, those of you that are around. But we're working on the idea of we are an expression of divinity. And if you noticed in the meditation, I use that terminology quite a bit. So where I want to go is the ideas of labels. And the question is, who are you? And if somebody asks me that question, the first thing I do is go back into my history and give you a resume of what I've done. Yes? And I have a personal self-image. I did this, and I was born in Philadelphia and got out of there as fast as I could. I graduated from college, although I took a few extra years to graduate from college. I spent 2 years in the Navy. I did this, that, and that's Robert. And that's my label. And I talk a lot about weight because I was always a pudgy little kid, okay, known as an extra tire. So I was overweight, and those are all the labels we put on ourselves. Now, science tells us that we act out our subconscious beliefs. So what kind of labels have we put on ourselves? And most of the labels are put on by somebody else. In other words, you'll never amount to anything. Good luck, I hope, all that kind of stuff. And it sticks. And then we have to prove that that's true. And so we're full of labels. What are some of the labels? Some we don't know. What are the labels we throw out?
You can't do that.
You can't do that?
Selfish.
Say it again.
You're selfish.
Selfish, yeah. And you were for yourself.
Reliable.
Reliable. See, there's all these labels.
He's a man.
He's a man. Do you hear the gender bias? And you see, this is what we deal with.
You just like
Age, age. We get involved in age, we get involved in gender biases, okay? And we get involved in racial issues, and these are all labels that somebody has put on me that I have accepted. And is that true? No. And we act out all these labels. I mean, when you reach in your 70s, you should slow down. But you see, we got all these labels. Okay, it's funny. It's really funny. And here we are, running like, I was going to say heck, but anyway, running like crazy to keep up with these labels that people have put on us, and we accept it as true. So whatever mom or dad said, whatever the local neighbor said, whatever they told me in school, it's not working up to your potential. Anybody familiar with some of those tags? And then we go, okay, that's me, and so I have to prove that that's me. It's very interesting. And things happen that change what I'm going to talk about here. I went to, we come and set up, and then I go to McDonald's for breakfast, okay? That's a deep, dark secret. Don't tell anybody. And the TV was on. And this professor, doctor, whatever, was talking about heredity and the genome sequences. Do you know that they map genomes and they can check the genes and see where the problems are? In other words, if you don't have cancer that you know about, it's in the genes. And so they can tell you in 10 years you better watch out. Now, anybody agree that's part of the labels? It's part of the labels. And a guy by the name of Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, a biologist, has said we can change our genes by the way we think. So what does that tell you? How did the mistakes get into our gene anyway? See, somewhere there was a label that wasn't what I call God's label. And the truth is, and I'm really fascinated because I hadn't looked at the Daily Word, and then I was hearing, I acknowledge the divine expression in all living things. I release my preconceived images about people and situations. So see, not only do we take a picture in and a label of who we are, we take a label in on who others are. And here's how we run through life, doing this stuff. Oh, you know, they do. Those people who live over there, they do that. Well, who knows that? And of course, everybody has that belief, so we have to get together and prove that they're right. It's fascinating. Okay? So here we've got these genomes, which are the fractures, is what I understand. But Bruce Lipton and by the way, we can do that in movie night next week. Yes.
Just expanding on that,
Yes.
that what Bruce Lipton talks about is actually called epigenetics.
Yes, that's right.
And
see, that's a new branch of science that is big right now.
And so the essence of it is that my lifestyle and the way I eat, the way I think, the way I interact actually either will turn on or off these various genes. So it's like the gene can still be there, but that cancer gene can get turned off or turned on by my behavior, my interaction, my thought.
See, now those are basics today. Now, we can spend 4 hours on this conversation, so we got to hit the highlights. And the idea is that there's all this predetermined stuff, but who predetermines it? And the only predetermined thing I know is child of God. You got it? So it's real clear that, and it says here, Ralph described prayer as beholding a jubilant soul. So that means that in the beginning we are joyful, happy, peaceful, wealthy, I like that term, healthy, and together. Okay? So, Spirit is always inviting me to behold the love within my heart and to celebrate it. Anybody agree? Celebrating what? Wait till we turn to the TV on and figure out that we don't celebrate. Like, we really don't. We denigrate it, okay? And the truth is, as a spiritual community, where are we going, what are we doing, and what are we recognizing, what labels are we putting on ourselves and each other? Did I say that fast enough? Thank you. Okay? So, so it's kind of like back to basics. And I'm absolutely firmly convinced the big issue is really accepting that we're an expression of God. If you go into the Bible, this is fascinating to me, by the way, because the scripture I'm referring to is John 10, and the quest class this morning was working in John 10, the first verse they were working on. Anybody familiar with coincidences? And wait a minute, got to do this. Where did I put my glasses? There they are. This is in the genes, okay?
Looks like they're in a sheep pocket.
What?
Not in the jeans, they're in the sheep pocket.
Oh, okay. By the way, those of you here for the first time, we interact a lot, so don't worry. Okay, thank you. That's my blank card. So, Jesus said, Jesus answered them, and is it not written in your law? I said, you're gods. So you ready? You are what?
God.
You are divinity, gods. Okay? And then it goes back and said, then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. Why? Because he said, I and my Father are one. And then many good works have I shown you. And the Jews answered him, saying, for good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, and because thou, being a man, makest thyself God. Do you understand terrible, terrible negative thinking, if you could say I'm an expression of God and really get it. Our culture is so biased to that conversation that those of us on a spiritual path, it is a big step to go from day-to-day kind of stuff to an acknowledgement that I and the Father are one. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. Don teaches the class of awake awareness, or aware, right? Awake awareness. So it's an awareness that I am awake. And what is awake? I believe is knowing that who I am in the base understanding of my humanness. And my humanness is really expression of God. Okay? It goes on and on. If you call them gods unto whom the word of God came, and the scripture cannot be broken. So what he's saying is, it's in the scripture that ye are gods and it can't be broken. Now, how often do you hear that verse?
No.
Especially the other one, the kingdom of heaven is within.
And
Where?
Isn't he quoting something from the Old Testament that says...
Yeah, it says it over and
how
over.
are they out there?
I don't know. It's like I and the Father are one. And Jesus is our way shower. He said, these things I do, he shall do and even greater things. So we keep piling up this evidence of who we really are. And when we look out, what do we see? And the only thing in us is the predisposition through our gene structure. So my belief is that our gene structure is perfect in the beginning. And what is the beginning? I don't know, way back centuries, whatever it is. We have hereditary, everybody familiar with hereditary things? So what are hereditary things? They are things that are passed down. How many generations? And the Bible says, what, 7 generations? If you really want to go into study, we're not going to do that today. So the idea of it is, who are we, what are we, and what do we claim for ourselves? And that's the biggest issue. So, I'm going back again to basics. Remember this little booklet I was working with last week? There it is again. And they're on the back table. Please pick them up and study it this week. And it says, what is the nature of humankind? Excuse me. So it says, you ready? We are each individual eternal. What does eternal mean? Forever. Okay? My daughter reminded me, we were talking about death, and she reminded me there is no death. Yes? She did.
I remind them of a lot.
She comes to visit once in a while. But you understand that. See, we think that because we cease to exist in the physical, that we're gone. No. So we are eternal expressions of divinity. That means forever and ever, never, 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 never. Okay? Then it goes on and says, our essential nature is divine and therefore inherently good. So a lot of people say, well, Robert, what about evil? Well, evil is like light and dark. It's the absence of God. It's like the light. There is no such thing as an energy called darkness. There's only light and absence of light. So we're dealing with God or divine divinity and the absence of divinity. And I have the choice to minimize divinity in my life, or I have the choice to maximize divinity in my life. And that's my choice, my individual choice. Okay? And please, I do want to say this. When we put labels on ourselves and others, we are accentuating separation. Okay? In other words, Bruce lives on South Austin. I don't like South Austin, so he and I are separate. Everybody there? Not really, But the idea is, the minute we put a label on somebody or something, we are saying they're different than I am, and there's got to be a problem here. And I have to project it, and that's where the original idea of a victim comes from. Because if I'm in dire circumstances, somebody had to do it to me. And that's the big problem, that nobody does anything to any of us. We are responsible for ourselves. And that's the spiritual path. Wow. I was thinking prosperity. We really had said we're going to be in prosperity, and we still are. But prosperity is a state of mind. It's a belief. It's a label. Okay? And then the more we awaken to our divine nature, which is what Don talked about, the more fully God expresses in and through our lives. So the more we work in the spiritual path, the more we do the work. We got to do the work. And that's prayer and meditation and reading and hanging out with good folks that have the same thoughts. The more we do the work, the more God is there to express through us, because we start changing the labels from that stuff to child of God. Okay? This goes on. Anybody want to hear more? So this is yes, this is no. Okay? Our teaching. Unity teaches that each person is a unique expression of God, created with sacred worth. Look around you. Go ahead, look around. See, we've got a great group of people here. And each one of us is an expression of the divine. Okay? Now, we each express differently, and we have a different thought about God, and we think we're here to do different things, which we are. Okay? Now, there's a lot of times I think, well, I should be doing that. But somebody else is doing that. No, I need to get over here and do what I know how to do. It's like the big symphony. We all have different instruments that we play. Some of us are counselors, some of us are doers, some of us are managers, whatever it is. And as long as we are expressing that divine gift, we are in the symphony of life and supporting others. And it goes on and says, unity emphasizes the creative power of thought in our life experience. I got a quote. Madeline sends me quotes from things. If anybody wants one, I have a pile of them. But this is Esther. Anybody familiar with Esther Hicks? Yeah. It's weird stuff. It really is. But anyway. You don't know her?
Oh, I think she's bad.
Yeah, she's
They are.
They, yeah, whatever they is, you know, it's really funny. And her husband Jerry's now part of they.
They, yeah.
But this was a quote that he, she, it made in Sacramento, California. To be specific, May 13th. The universe is not discriminating about the rightness or wrongness of your request.
Right.
Come down. It is here to accommodate all requests. All you have to do is be a vibrational match to your request, and the universe will give it to you. So what are we thinking? What are we working? What are we worrying about? Anybody familiar with worry? And worry is what might happen. Okay, so we're talking about changing the conversation to a spiritual conversation that I'm a child of God, I express divinity, and I can ask for help to control my thoughts so that only divinity shows up in my life. And the more I do that, the more I have access to divinity. Now, and I love that quote. And oh, by the way, I pull these out maybe once every 2 or 3 months. Anybody familiar with the 5 principles of unity? Mm-hmm. Let's repeat them. See, I want to make sure we get this. You are a child of God. You're an expression of divinity. And we've forgotten that, and we don't believe it. So we allow ourselves to become, oh my goodness, the victims. She did that to me. Do you hear what you said? None of it matters. None of it matters, okay? So there's only one presence and one power active in the universe, God the good. Our essence of God, so we're therefore part of God. We are co-creators with God. So whatever we are thinking, we create in reality. Basics. Through prayer and meditation, we align our heart and mind with God, which means we got to pray and meditate if we want to be part of God's community. And through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. So the old song just came to me. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. You know, if you really know that life is good and everything's fine, how would you act from day to day? Oh my God, I can't wait. Get up in the morning, thank God. Now, do I do it all the time? No. She'll tell you. But the idea is, who are we, and really accepting who we are. And the Bible tells me I'm a child of God, so I believe the Bible in proper interpretation. Anyway, so it goes on. And unity emphasizes the importance of applying spiritual principles in our daily lives. In other words, I can't be complaining and I was going to say some other word, but I'm not going to use that word. But we can't be complaining. We can't be downplaying somebody else. We can't be, blaming somebody else. We have to accept that we're a child of God, and it's all in its own divine world. Have you ever seen something that looked like a tragedy and all of a sudden it worked out very well? Okay, now there are tragedies that are tragedies, however, I'm not minimizing it. I'm just saying your mindset depends on that process. Excuse me, there's more here. The highest form of creative thought is affirmative prayer. And affirmative prayer is the basis of New Thought unity, and that is giving thanks for something before it occurs, knowing that it occurs. So affirmative prayer is not, oh God, please heal Aunt Mary's right toe, okay? That's evocative prayer, or anyway, it's thank you for the healing that I know is taking place. And the prayers that go in the box back there, you heard Terry pray, thank you, Father God, for the healing that's already occurred. Okay, that's the ultimate positive attitude, if you will. Okay? And then, through prayer and meditation heighten our awareness and therefore transform our lives. Now, I don't know about you, but transformation is a pretty good word. I spent some time on the internet this morning looking up the word transformation. And there's all kinds of definitions for it. I was surprised. There's even a scientific definition. But basically it is changing the physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental process in life. And transformation, the word process stuck out to me. It's not something that happens like that. It's something that we work with the rest of our lives. Anybody agree that I am a child of God becoming? In other words, it's a process and it's daily work. And instead of getting upset that somebody cuts me off, I bless them. Okay? Or whatever happens, it happens for a reason, and it's that attitude in life. Okay? So, I appreciate you allowing me to share with you. The final ingredient, in my opinion, is the spiritual community work with, to be around. One of the main things in the epigenetics idea is that we become the people we associate with. And I'm so thankful for you as a spiritual community to be here and be part of the transformation that is occurring in the building of that church a quarter of a mile that way. And I know it's happening. I know it is in divine harmony. And I know we are in transformation together as a group. And I appreciate your love and very much. You're not going to let me in, huh?
No, I'm not. So I just wanted to comment. I was just thinking about an old friend of mine and his wife. And back in the 80s, she went to see the doctor because of a lump that she had. And the guy said, oh, it's not a problem. They went back, she went back again, not a problem. And then they were both very committed to their spiritual path, and they decided to go see somebody else. And she had cancer, and the prognosis was that she didn't have a long time to live, and she had 3 months apparently left to live. There was 3 months actually left to live. And they became aware of a program down in Dallas. It was a week-long program. They came down to this program, both my friend and his wife, Mary Lee, with cancer. They spent a week there, and I talked with Pat after the thing. He said it was pretty rough, Bruce. My life has really changed. And what happened was her cancer went completely into remission.
Yeah.
And it stayed that way. It stayed that way around that cancer for well over 20 years.
Wow.
And
See, that's divinity showing us the way.
that is, now she did wind up with a cancer that I heard about a year ago, but it was totally separate from the first thing.
Yeah.
So what really struck me about that was the strength of her conviction in God and a power greater than herself. And what happened was she changed what happened in her body.
Yeah. There's a lot of shifts, and a lot of you have been through these. I know we have some miraculous healings right in this room. And I'm not going to point you out, but It's here. It very definitely is here. By the way, before I end, RJ's is videotaping this and putting it on
YouTube or Facebook.
Facebook. Those of you who are on Facebook, you need to go on it and send it out to other folks. And that was a directive from RJ, so we got to do it.
Share it.
Share it, is that
Share
right?
it.
Okay.
Share it, it goes out to all over the world.
Make it grow wings.
Okay. I'm finished. Anybody else? Okay. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.